Hello, welcome to all. In the today's class, let us continue the applications of Gauss law of electrostatics. In the previous lecture, we studied the two applications of Gauss law of electrostatics. Those are the very simple examples. One is the point charge and the other is the spherical shell. Okay? In these two cases, we calculated the electric field by using the Gauss law. Of course, these are very simple applications. Okay. Today we are going to apply the Gauss law for somewhat complicated charge distributions. Okay. Yeah. First of all, I will show you the today's plan of our class. Okay, you can see here the outline of today's class. First application is uniformly charged sphere and the second application is infinite sheet of charge. These applications, these examples are somewhat complicated compared to the earlier two applications. Okay, now first of all let us go for the uniformly charged sphere. Okay. Yeah, now I will go for the another slide. Okay, now you can see here the uniformly charged sphere. Uniformly charged sphere. Yeah. Now you can see here the uniformly charged sphere. Okay. Now let us try to apply the Gauss law of electrostatics for this particular problem. Okay, how the charge is distributed here? It is distributed across the cross section of the solid sphere. Okay, in the yesterday's class we discussed about the spherical shell. That is also the sphere. This is also the sphere. That is a very thin spherical shell. It is the solid sphere. Okay. Now you see in this figure, in yesterday's class, our example is just this sphere with the outer layer. Okay, outer layer. Today that sphere is filled with some material. Now it is becoming the solid sphere, like your cricket ball. In yesterday's class we discussed about an object like your rubber ball in which the entire space is empty. But in our today's problem it is something like a cricket ball which is filled with the matter. So now our charge is spreading across all this material, okay, across the cross section of this material. Okay, yeah, that's why our problem is little bit difficult today. Okay, now you see here, let us formulate the problem. What is our problem? What is our application? Third application is a uniformly charged sphere. Here we have to define the sphere. We have to define the sphere, and we have to define the problem. How much charge is there on this sphere? Okay, we may define the charge distribution in terms of volume charge density or in terms of Q itself. You may think that what is the charge, entire charge filled in this solid sphere? That may be Q. Okay, no problem. You may also describe the charge in this sphere with the help of Q itself, or you may define the charge distribution in terms of volume, charge density. Okay, so I am here considering only the total charge inside the material of the sphere. How much charge is there? It is filled with q coulombs of positive charge. Okay. Now I am taking a sphere here, solid sphere. Okay, material is filled inside this sphere. Of course, it is a metal sphere here. Metal sphere. Okay. Yeah, this is the center of the sphere. Yeah, say this as the radius of the sphere. Capital R is the radius of the solid sphere. Okay. Now you want to know the electric field in and around this solid sphere by applying the Gauss law of electrostatics. Now, how much charge is there? Without charge, if you are given the solid sphere without charge, then there is no question of finding the electric field by using the Gauss law of electrostatics. Why? Because whenever you try to apply the Gauss law of electrostatics, on the RHS side you have Q. When there is no Q, that means whenever Q is equal to 0, you have flux 0, integral E ds 0. That means E also 0. Okay. Why we are going to apply Gauss law of electrostatics here? Our guess is that in this case, we can easily calculate electric field if we apply the Gauss law of electrostatics. Why? What is our confidence? Why? Because our object is a symmetric object. That's why the application of Gauss law can be done here without any problem. Okay. Otherwise, the application of Gauss law will not give you the answer that much easily. Okay, you have to apply some another method or the direct method. Okay, right. And that is what the importance of or limitations of the Gauss law. You have to know all these things in order to apply the Gauss law to a particular problem. Okay, whether it is relevant to this problem or not. Now, Gauss law of electrostatics is definitely relevant to this problem. Why? Because you are seeing in the picture, it is a very nice sphere with extreme symmetry. Okay, right. So we can apply and solve the problem here by applying the Gauss law of electrostatics. Okay, right. Yeah. First of all, we have to build the problem. Okay, what is our problem? To know the electric field in and around the solid sphere by using the Gauss law of electrostatics. Okay. Yeah. We have to apply the Gauss law for the particular problem. Here we are building the problem, defining the problem. Some solid sphere is there. It is of radius r. Okay. How much charge is there? As I already told to you, the entire charge field in this sphere is plus q coulombs. Okay. Let the total charge inside the sphere be plus q. Okay. How much charge is there? Plus q coulombs charge is there across the entire sphere. Okay, total charge. How much charge is stored in this solid sphere? Q coulombs of positive charge. Q coulombs of positive charge. Okay, what is the radius of this sphere? Let the radius of the solid sphere be capital R. Okay, capital R. So what is the radius of the solid sphere? We are assuming it to be capital R. Capital R. Okay. Okay. Two quantities we assign to this problem. One is the radius of the sphere, capital R, and charge filled in this sphere is small q coulombs. That too positive charge. Okay. We almost formulated the problem. The sphere is made up of the metal. Why? Because it has to preserve or conduct the uncharged carriers. Okay, right. This is the formulation of the problem. Now we have to apply the Gauss law of electrostatics to this particular problem. Okay, where do you want to find the electric field? This is a charge, lump of charge, but this is not the structureless charge or the structureless object. Point object is a structureless object. Why? Because you need not to think about the internal structure of that minute point. Now it is not the point object. That's why there may be some internal structure. It must have some internal structure. It must have some specific shape. Okay. So here your problem is somewhat complicated than the point charge. Okay. The charge is spreading across the cross section of this sphere. Across the cross section of this sphere. Okay. Yeah. Now let us try to find the electric field in and around this solid sphere. Okay, you always get that sort of doubt. Why in and around means? That means you may want to find the electric field outside this sphere. You may want to find the electric field inside this sphere also. Why? Because R is not 0, it is not the point objects. Here also you have some space inside the sphere. Okay. Here also you want to know the electric field. Okay. The Gauss law definitely answers to these two questions posed by you. Okay. Why? Because it is not the point object. The two cases are arising here. Charge inside the object, charge outside the object. Here, to apply the Gauss law for the second case, charge inside the sphere is a little bit difficult compared to the first case, field outside the sphere. Okay? Yeah. Now let us see at the time of solving the problem. Okay? Right. Now, one thing I want to tell you before starting this application, we have done similar problem yesterday. Okay, that we discussed not only point charge, but we also discussed some charge distribution, spherical shell. Okay, the shell width is very small. That means you are defining only one radius, not internal radius, outer radius of the internal surface, outer surface AB, two radii. Instead of defining two radii, you may take one radii. For thin spherical shell, okay, we discussed about that yesterday. Okay, and that is also having some spherical surface. Okay, this is also having some spherical surface, but there was no matter inside that sphere yesterday. But today, that sphere is filled with the matter, Okay, now in yesterday also I discussed about in the previous class also I discussed about the second problem. That means field inside the shell. Okay, we discussed at the end of the previous lecture or the previous class. But there the problem is very simple. Why? Because there is no charge inside that spherical shell. Why? Because there is no material. To place some charge, you must have to find some base, some material. There is no material. That's why there is no charge inside the spherical shell. Now, this sphere is filled with the material. Of course, definitely charge spreads across that material. Okay, yeah, that is the problem. Here, for inside points, Q does not 0. In yesterday's class, for inside points, charge equal to 0. That's why our problem became very simple. That's why we easily solved the second case also in yesterday's problem or in the previous lecture. But today it will be somewhat difficult. Okay, why? If you are considering a small sphere inside the big sphere, it can able to preserve only small amount of charge. If you are taking the bigger sphere, then it will be able to preserve more amount of charge. You can put more amount of charge in the big sphere. You can put small amount of charge in the small sphere. Okay, and that we have to consider today. Okay, before that, let us consider the first case: field for outside points. Okay, field outside the sphere. Okay, yeah. What is the first case of this problem? Case A. Yeah. 3A. What is the first part? Outside. Outside the sphere. Outside the sphere. Okay. Now we are dealing with the outside points. Field at outside points. Field with the outside points. Okay. Here, yeah. Let me draw a diagram for this first case. See, this is your sphere. Okay. Original sphere. What is the radius of this sphere? Radius of this sphere is r. Okay. Now, say this is a origin O. Okay. Now you want to find the electric field outside this sphere due to the charge on this sphere or due to the charge inside this sphere. Okay. Where do you want to find the electric field? Suppose you say this is O. Okay. Now you want to find the electric field at some other point here, which is outside the sphere, which is located outside of the sphere. Okay, say this point P. Okay, at this point you want to find the. Suppose that at this point you want to find the electric field. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Here to here, let us assume this distance as r. Okay. What is OP now? R. Okay. This problem also gives you the answer to the field at other points. Okay, which are also located at a distance r from the center of the sphere. That means if you draw a bigger circle passing through this point P, then the field you are evaluating at this particular point will be the answer for all the points on those on that perimeter line. Okay, so you are drawing a bigger circle now. That circle is passing through your point P. What is this here? What we call this surface? We call this surface in the applications of Gauss law as Gaussian surface. See, we have to draw the Gaussian surface keeping in view of the geometry of the object. This is a spherical object. That's why we are also drawing. We are considering the Gaussian surface to be a sphere. Okay. Here you want to know the electric field. Here, suppose you may choose another point on this dotted line. Here also you may be having the same field. Why? Because all the points on this dotted lines are located at the same distance from the center of this sphere. Okay. Now just we want to find at one particular point. We want to find the electric field E at one particular point P. For this we want to use the Gauss law. Okay. Yeah, this is the diagram figure for case A. Okay. Yeah. Now in this slide you may consider the internal sphere as original sphere, the surface of the outer sphere as a Gaussian surface. Okay, Gaussian surface. Right. Now radius of the solid sphere is capital R here. So internal sphere is having radius R, outer sphere is having radius R, radius small r. Okay, there is the charge, there is a charge in this solid sphere. This solid sphere is inside this imaginary sphere. So whatever the charge that is there in the solid sphere object, that is automatically inside this Gaussian surface, that is closed surface. So how much charge is there inside your Gaussian surface? Whatever the charge that is there inside the sphere, all that charge is inside the Gaussian surface. So what you have to write on the RHS side of Gauss law, in the place of Q, simply you have to put Q. Okay, in this case. Okay, here how to write the mathematical, how to write this line as a in the mathematical form. Here your small r is less than capital R or greater than capital R. Your small r is greater than capital R. This will give you the points outside the sphere. Okay, right. Now, according to the Gauss law, according to the Gauss law, what is Gauss law? Integral E dot ds is equal to q by epsilon naught. Okay, is there any need to change q in this formula? You need not to change. Why? Because inside this dotted sphere, imaginary sphere, you are having how much charge? The entire charge in the solid sphere, that is small q. That's why you need not to change q here. Your RHS is okay, exactly applicable to this problem. You need not to change that. You have to modify LHS according to the situation. Okay. Now here this is a imaginary surface. Okay, on this surface you want to find the electric field at one particular point P. Okay, now this may be having some surface area, imaginary sphere, just like the original sphere. You just take some area, ds area on this imaginary sphere. Okay, right. Now what is the direction of what is this? This is ds. It is directed radially outwards. Your ds is directed radially outwards. Okay, this is the direction of ds. If you take ds to be the vector, because it is a very small infinitesimal area, that's why we choose this as a, we treat this as a vector which is directed perpendicular to its surface. That you have to note. That is one important point. Okay. Whenever you are taking small portion of surface area on the sphere, you may assign a direction for that. But if you take a larger area, see at this point this is a direction, at this point this is a direction. Okay, you cannot get a single direction over that surface. That's why for infinite we treat infinitesimal surface areas only as vectors. Okay, the direction of this vector is ds. Okay, now I already told you that how much charge is there here? Plus q coulombs of charge is here. So what will be the direction of field lines? Okay, what will be the direction of field lines? Field lines always go outwards. Okay, here you have field lines like this. Okay, field lines like this. Okay, now you have field lines like this. Okay, suppose you may draw so many field lines like this and like this. Okay, what is this? Direction of E. Direction of field lines is the direction of E. Okay, now what is the angle between this E and ds here? Both are parallel lines. Okay, both are directed outwards. Okay, this helps you to find this E dot ds here. Okay, this is a symmetrical problem. Okay, all the field lines start at the O and go outside. Why? Because this is a positive charge. Otherwise, all of them enter into the center. Okay, that you have to keep in mind. Right. Now, what is the definition of cross product here? A dot B means A, B cos theta. Okay, here you are having mod E mod D as cos theta. Theta means how much? Here, what is the angle between E and ds? It is 0. Cos 0 is equal to, on this side you have q by epsilon naught. On this side you have q by epsilon. Okay. Now I am writing here. Yeah. What is cos 0? Cos 0 is 1. That's why on the LHS side you are only left with integral mod E mod ds. Mod E mod ds. This is equal to, on this side you have q by epsilon naught. Okay. Yeah. Now E, I already told you that the value of E is same for all points on this Gaussian surface. Why? Because all those points are located at equal distance called the radius of the sphere. Okay, if you take a point here, if you take a point here, all these points are located away from the O at the distance of r, that is equal to the radius of the sphere. Okay, all of the points on that surface are at the equal distance from the center of the sphere. Okay, that's why at all those points you have the same electric field. So E is constant. E is a constant. Now only you can drag E outside of the surface integral. If you are not able to drag the E outside the surface integral, why? Because we write constants outside the integral symbol. If you are not able to draw or drag the E outside the integral, then the problem became complicated. Okay. In all the spherical, in all the symmetric problems, you do not have that problem. That's why we apply Gauss law for only the symmetrical charge distributions. So in this case, we may write E outside. Why? Because E is a constant in this particular case. Okay. Yeah. I'm just writing E outside integral ds. Okay, is equal to q by epsilon. This is an infinitesimal element of the surface. Okay. Integral ds means total area of your Gaussian surface. Always you have to keep in mind Gaussian surface, imaginary sphere only. As long as you do the applications of Gauss law, you have to keep in mind the shape of the Gaussian surface, not the original surface. Okay. You see, this Q is inside the Gaussian surface. Of course, it is inside the original sphere surface. We are not bothering about that. Okay, whether entire object is inside the Gaussian surface or not. Okay. Yeah. That's why this charge Q is what we are talking about here. We are saying that this charge is inside the imaginary sphere. We have to talk like this only here. Yeah. Now what is this total area? This is the total area of the imaginary sphere of radius r. Okay. So what will be the surface area of the sphere of radius r? Yesterday in the previous class I already told to you. What is that? Yeah. See, E, this is the total area of Gaussian surface. Okay, your Gaussian surface is a spherical one with radius r. So what will be the formula for the surface area of the sphere with radius r? That is 4 pi. You have to write capital R or small r, because your sphere is imaginary sphere. So radius of your sphere is small r. That's why you have to write here 4 pi small r square. This is equal to q by epsilon naught. Here you have to leave the confusion. Okay. Otherwise you cannot able to apply the Gauss law here. Even though you apply, you cannot get the correct answer. Okay. You have to consider only imaginary object, not the real object. As long as you study the applications of gas law. Right. Now, actually, what is your goal? You want to find electric field intensity at the point P, which is located outside the sphere. Okay. Now, here I am writing from this step, you are getting E is equal to, okay, I think it is not visible to you. Yeah, E is equal to, if you take 4 pi r square to this side, then you get 1 by 4 pi r square into epsilon naught. So I am writing here 4 pi epsilon naught. Here I am writing 1 by r square. Okay, I am pulling out that r square. Okay, what is here? Q is there in the numerator on this side. Okay, so how much you are getting here? So what is the formula for E, expression for E? From this previous step, E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r square. See, in the previous class we discussed about two problems. In those two problems also, for outside points, electric field intensity is the same as this one. In the previous two cases also, we got the same expression. What is that? E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r square. In case of point object, in case of spherical shell, for outside points. Okay. Yeah, this applies here. This applies where it applies, as long as r is greater than r. That means for outside points. Okay. So this is your answer for the field at the outside points. Okay. You may take the point here or here or here or here. Its value does not change. As long as you does not leave the dotted surface, its value will be the same. Its value does not change. So what is your answer? Here in this case, solid sphere case A, that means outside points, your answer is electric field intensity E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r square. Here I am writing inside the brackets r is greater than capital R, means it applies to all the points outside the solid sphere. Okay. This is a solution for our case A in case of solid sphere. In case of solid sphere. Okay. Now let us consider the case of outside points. Okay. Second case. Let us go for the second case B. Next case B. Okay. Case A is for outside points. Case B is for inside points. Okay. Case B is inside points. Field at inside points. Field inside the sphere. That is our case B. Okay. Yeah. Let us discuss about this result. Okay. After part B. Okay. After the second case. Right. Now, okay, this is about the electric field at the outside points of the sphere. Okay. This is same as Coulomb's law, you see, okay, except one of the Q's are becoming 1 Coulomb, or this is the usual formula for E. You see here, this is the usual formula given for E. General formula, standard formula. It is nothing but the Coulomb's law. It is nothing but the Coulomb's law. This is a formula for E. Okay? Right. Yeah. Next, let us go for the second case. Yeah, case B, outside the sphere. Inside, na? Outside is over. Inside the sphere. Inside the sphere. So mathematically, how to write this problem? Now your small r should be less than the capital R. Then only you arrive the points inside the solid sphere. Okay. This is a mathematical statement of our case B, second problem. in the solid sphere. Okay. Right. Now what you have to do in this slide, you see the outer sphere, okay, outer layer of the outer shell is the original sphere surface. The small sphere is there inside. Now this is your Gaussian surface. Small sphere, surface of the small sphere is your Gaussian surface. Your original object is big one now in this figure in the slide. Okay, right. Now let me draw the diagram for the application of Gauss law for this case. Okay, now this is the origin of your sphere. This is okay. You put this. You draw. Yeah. This is your sphere. This is the center of the sphere. This is the radius of the sphere. Okay. Now you want to deal with the points inside this original surface, inside the sphere. So now we have to select one point inside this original sphere. Say this as a P. Okay. Say this as a P. Okay. In order to find electric field at this point, you have to draw the Gaussian surface. You have to imagine the Gaussian surface, okay, which is obviously the shape of the sphere in this case. Okay. Now I am drawing a dotted circle inside the original sphere surface. Original sphere surface. Okay. Your point is here P. So now this distance becomes small r because your point under consideration is P. Always OP is small r. Okay. But the length of small r is decreased now. In the second case, why? Because small r is less than capital R. Okay, this is a diagram for case B for inside points. Fillet inside points. Okay. Now, yeah, this is your diagram. Okay. Now you have to apply the Gauss law. Okay. According to the Gauss law, integral E dot ds is equal to q by epsilon naught. Okay. Now on this side you have to change q. Why? Because q is filled up to here, q is filled, but you are taking only here to here. You are leaving some original sphere. That means you are leaving some original charge. So q cannot be the charge inside this small sphere. Q will be the charge inside this big sphere. Now you have to calculate how much charge is left in the smaller imaginary sphere. Why? Because that is your Gaussian surface. So what is how much water you can preserve in a small pot? Small amount of water. You can preserve large amount of water in a large pot. Okay. In large sphere you can place more amount of charge. In small sphere you can place small amount of charge. So now our charge under consideration is smaller than the earlier case. What is the quantity of that? That is Q. That is Q. Okay, that is Q. Right. Now let us call that charge. Okay. Let the charge inside Gaussian surface B, how much? Q prime. Why? Because it is not Q, let us call this Q prime. Okay. Say in how much volume Q is stored? Q is stored in volume B. Okay. Q prime, then your Q prime will be stored in volume. Big sphere means its volume will be more. V prime. What is V? Big sphere is the original sphere. whose radius is capital R. So what is the formula for the volume of the sphere? 4 by 3rd pi r cube. 4 by 3 pi r cube. Why I am writing capital R? Because this q refers to original sphere. Original sphere. Yeah. Now I am going for the Gaussian sphere. What will be the volume of the Gaussian sphere? 4 by 3rd pi. What is its radius? Small r. That's why you have small r cube. Okay. Now we want to find this q prime. We want to express this q prime in terms of q. In terms of q. Okay. Now we just divide these two formulas. Okay. We just divide these two formulas. Q prime by q prime by q is equal to 4 by 3rd pi small r cube by, okay, q prime's formula. Q's formula is 4 by 3rd pi capital R cube. Okay, 4 by 3rd pi cancel. Now we are only left with r by r, small r by capital R cube. So therefore, what is your proof for q prime? Bring this q to this side. Then this is r by r whole cube into q. Now we expressed charge inside the small sphere in terms of the charge inside the big sphere. That is known charge. This is unknown charge. Now we found the unknown charge, which can be used in the Gauss law. Okay. Yeah. Now here what is your charge? Q prime. On the LHS side you have to write q prime because it is not the q. It is not the q on the RHS side. Okay. Now you have this charge q prime in terms of q. Now you know the mechanism to evaluate the left hand side equation. Okay. Now let us go for this. Therefore, again I am coming to this point here. Yeah. See now, here you consider a small infinitesimal element of surface on the Gaussian sphere and write its direction. Okay, now as in the earlier case, your field lines are also directed in the same direction. This is the direction of E. Here also, these two things are parallel. E vector and ds vector are parallel. So here now radius is mod E mod ds cos theta. Again this theta, angle between these two vectors is 0. On this side you have to write q prime. What is q prime? R by r whole cube into q. Okay, q prime by epsilon naught. I am writing here epsilon naught. Okay. Now this cos 0 is 1. That's why you are having only integral integral vector E modulus of vector E modulus of vector ds into 1 means we need not to write. On this side you have r by r whole cube into q by epsilon naught. Okay, q by epsilon naught. Yeah, here also the magnitude of E will be same on all points, at the all points on the Gaussian surface. Why? Because all points are located at the same distance from the center point O as in the previous case. Okay. Now your E is constant. What I am saying is E is constant. That's why you may drag out E. You may pull out E. Okay. Now I am writing here. You write E outside of this integral symbol. Here you are having only ds. Here on this side you are having r by r cube means r cube by r cube by epsilon naught. Now what is this integral ds? It's the total surface area of the Gaussian sphere. What is that? Okay, 4 pi. See, small r refers to the Gaussian surface always. So, what is the surface area of the sphere with radius small r? As in the previous case, it is 4 pi r square. So, E into 4 pi small r square is equal to r cube q by capital R cube epsilon naught. Okay. Now r square cancel. You are left with 1 r here. So what will be the formula for your field intensity? Therefore E is equal, how much you are getting here? 1 by, take 4 pi to this side, it goes into the denominator, epsilon naught is there. Okay, next q is there. Okay, r cube is there. You are left with one more r here. This entire thing is constant except the small r. Okay, this is a formula for the electric field intensity at the inside points of the sphere. At all the inside points, this formula is applicable. It applies it applies for the second case. That means for all points inside the original sphere. Okay. For that, what we have to write here? R is less than capital R. So for all inside points, this formula is applicable. Now I want to discuss about the results in the two cases. Okay. What do you got in the earlier case? Okay, I will write once again here. Okay. Yeah, this is what? This is the second formula, or B. This applies to outside points. Okay. Now I am writing the formula which is applicable to inside points. 1 by 4 pi. Okay, this is applicable to inside points. Okay, just now we derived this formula. In the earlier case, we got E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, same as Coulomb's law, na? Q by r square. Okay, where is it applicable? For outside point. That means what you have to write here? R is greater than R. So what is the difference in the fields? What is the difference in the fields in these two cases? Okay, see that you can understand that by drawing a graph, okay, between field, because your field is a function of R. Your field is a function of small r. Okay, remaining all the things are constants. Okay, is a function of r. So now you plot the graph between E and R. You plot the graph between E and R. Okay, this is your sphere now. This is your sphere. This is O. Okay. This is some point on the surface of the sphere. Here to here, how much distance you are having? The distance equal to the radius of the sphere. Up to here, if this is x is equal to 0, this point is x is equal to r. Here to here, what will be the field? That can be known by this formula. You vary this formula or this formula. This is field inside the sphere. So we have to apply second formula here. What does it say? ER is proportional to RY because all these things are constant. As long as you reach this capital R distance, E will be varying as proportional to R. Okay, it is varying proportional to R. That means how to write this? Yeah. As long as you go to this point, E value increases. Right. Whenever you cross this point, then what happens? Now you have to go for another formula. It refers to the outside points. See our earlier formula which we derived before this. See here it is inverse square law. Okay, as you move away from the center, it falls it falls in the squared manner, okay, inverse squared manner, okay. That's why your graph will be like this. As you just leave the sphere, then what happens? Field intensity goes on decreasing. Field intensity goes on decreasing. Here this is proportional to R. Here this is proportional to 1 by R square. Okay. If you are able to plot this graph, then you will be in a position to understand completely about this problem. See, deriving the results is not, deriving the equations or expressions is not important, because as a physics student you have to know the physical meaning of those expressions. So what the Gauss law is saying in this case, as long as you go to the surface, field intensity is always increases, that is proportional to R. Okay. See, where do you find the maximum field? At the surface. What is the formula for that? E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R is equal to, X means R naught. R is equal to R, capital R square. Okay, you have to replace the small r with capital R. This is the maximum field intensity. Where do you find? Here at the border. See, as you move towards the border, field intensity goes on decreasing until you reach the border. After you reach the border, whenever you crosses the border, electric field intensity gradually decreases as R square. Okay, this information we got from the Gauss law of electrostatics. Of course, you think that it is somewhat complicated, but it is an easiest way compared to other methods, even in this case. Okay, that is what the importance of Gauss law of electrostatics. Okay. Now, this is about our third application. Gauss law of electrostatics. Okay. Our next example is infinite charge sheet. Our next example is infinite charge sheet. Just I will show you the diagram of that sheet. Okay, just I will show you the infinite charge sheet here. Now, okay, this is infinite charge sheet. You may see this here now. You see this here. I will just place it here. Okay. I see this is the infinite sheet of charge. Okay, of course you see the dimensions are limited here, but we have to imagine that this plate is extended up to infinity in both x and y directions. Okay, right. Now we want to know the electric field immediately next to this plate. Okay, let us try to find the electric field of this plate in the next class. Okay, in the next class we will be discussing about this plate, electric field adjacent to this plate. Okay, with this let us stop for today. Thank you.